everybody, welcome to the dungeon. My name is Robin and today is Lampworking 101.66. Today I wanted to talk about plaid patterns, and I love a good plaid. The definition for plaid is any crisscross pattern with 2 or more colors. Pretty simple. But in order to put this into a bead, it can get a little complex. So what we want to do is make all of our cane ahead of time and then lay it down onto the bead in our crisscross pattern. So it is a little lengthy, this demonstration, and we might as well get right into it. And I wanted to say thank you all so much for watching. I truly appreciate every one of you, wherever you may be. I hope you're doing safe and well. And on that note, I will see you next time in the dungeon. All right, let's get this bead going. So as I said, I have quite a few pieces of cane to make, and I decided I would use a very simple color palette. I'm only going to be using these 3 pieces of cane for this demonstration and a bit of clear. So I'm going to start by pulling out a stringer from this bundle of cane, being careful to heat it up and get a nice gather of glass on the top. And then when I go to punty up, I want to make absolutely sure that where I stick the punty goes right into all 3 colors, right into the area where they all pull together. And then I will pull that bundle away and just add my other punty and heat everything up, and very slowly but surely pull it out into a nice, beautiful long stringer. I usually pull my stringers slightly on the thick side. I love the way this one pulled out. I had a lot more glass than I thought too, so I had like lots and lots of stringer for this. And it's good because more is better for these beads, just in case anything goes wrong. Okay, so the second one, I am going to start the exact same way. And sometimes when I was a little too confident when I made the first one, so the second one is like really sloppy. And so I kind of try to pull it together with the marble mold. And I noticed that the one of my pink colors just doesn't, it was a little covered up. So I go ahead and add the other color. And by the way, I am using a bubblegum pink here. You should have guessed, right? And the other colors is Cherry Shake, which is almost like white, and a sky blue. And on this one, I'm going to coat the whole thing in clear because I want to make a Latticino cane, which is just a cane with a single color running through the center. But I'm using the 3 colors. And I'm going to coat the whole thing in clear. I kind of start at the bottom and then work my way around the sides. And then I will heat everything up and smooth it down so I can add a whole nother layer. Having 2 layers on the Latticino cane is really is like the perfect amount, I have found out. But if you want it even thinner, then you can add another layer of clear here. Okay, so where there should be a little tiny spot at the top where you can put your punty. And also, again, the whole thing about adding it right into the center of those colors. That's a good rule to stand by when you're pulling a tricolor cane out, or any multicolors. Okay, so I round it out, turn it around, and on the other side, I'm going to put my punty there and push a little bit of that glass on top of the punty, and then heat everything up, and just taking my time, and I'm going to nice and gently pull this out. This was a lovely pull to watch happen, and it just felt great. So I want to make sure I have plenty of this, and there it is. So you can see all the colors I'm going to be using there. Okay, so now I'm going to use that cane to build up the complex stringer cane. This is like a really cool cane. And I'm going to start out by adding a little clear to the base of a punty. and then getting a little wad of clear and adding it to that, and just getting a nice rounded shape on the clear. The diameter can be a little smaller than this, but don't make it any bigger because it's just the very center of the cane. So on top of the clear, I'm going to use that Latticino cane, and I am going to add 3 stripes in the center. Obviously, you can vary this however much you want. But I'm sticking with the 3 and then going from there. And so now what I want to do is just heat everything up and gently roll it out, and then add a whole round of clear on top of this bundle here. And I start by adding the clear straight on top of the color, and then I kind of add clear to both sides of that as I go. And that usually does the trick and covers everything up really evenly and really nice. And then we're just going to give it a little bit of heat, round it out again, and add our second row of lines. And I'm just going to add these in between the other ones. And depending on where you're holding this cane will kind of depend on the colors that will appear later on. So again, I'm just rolling out, smoothing things down, and then I'm going to add yet another layer of clear here. I always like to make sure I smooth everything out a little bit so I don't, the chance of getting bubbles is much less. And then I'm going to coat this the same way by coating the color first, and then coating a little bit on each side of the color, and then in the middle. And sometimes I'll add just a little bit of clear to the bottom just to kind of pull those areas together. Okay, so now that I'm done there, you see why they call this a complex cane now. It's not that it's complicated, it's just very time consuming. Okay, so now we're going to add another layer. And on this layer, I'm not too worried about where I am overlapping the cane underneath. I am just going to add I think like 6 or 7 bits of color here on the outside. I have my torch on nice and bushy high, so I get as much hot as I can, and all of a sudden things take a little bit longer because you're heating up a whole big wad of cane here. You do not have to make this cane this complex, okay? You can only do 2, if you want to just do 2 layers, that would work well too. But when you're finished, we're going to pull the end out so all of the canes come together at one point, and then that's where you're going to add the puntee. Yeah, the variety of different types of complex cane you can make like this, it's, there's just so much you can do here. And this technique is fascinating, and it looks really cool too. So I'm just heating up this other rod, and I'm heating kind of more of the rod up than I am the glass there, and it comes nice and clean when it comes out. And then just pull the center, and when you pull the center every single time, it will end up pulling the outside too, and that's how you know everything is coming together at this end. And then just tweeze that out, pull it off, and then you have a nice little area to puntee up on the other side. So again, just be real careful that you don't put the mandrel in too deep on any of the puntees that you use. You really don't need much. And we're gonna give this a nice, even straight pull. I try to keep everything nice and straight here. And this again is a beautiful pull. Anytime you're pulling color with clear, it tends to, I don't know, be easier for me. Okay, so you can almost barely even see the lines here, but you will see this in the final bead. Okay, so we're finally at making the bead, and I am going to start this bead off with just the solid color rods that I used, and I'm going to start out with that cherry shake. And this color is not exactly what I had hoped it would be. I would hope that there would be a little bit more color in it, but it is really on the light side. It's almost white. Anyway, I start my base bead with that and make a long cylindrical bead. And then on that, I'm going to add 3 of the sky blue wraps. And in between those, but not touching, I'm going to add 2 small wraps of the bubblegum pink. And then I'll gently heat all of this up so all of the colors show. And I have my beginning stripes. And in the long run, you probably don't even see this, but I think it was a good start off to this pattern. Now I'm going to turn my torch down a little bit and draw on some of the stringer that we pulled at the very, very beginning of the demo. And when I add this stringer, I'm adding 4 lines all the way from the top to the very bottom lengthwise on my bead. And I want to make sure they go all the way from the top to the bottom. If they don't, then kind of, grab a pick and kind of pull them towards that mandrel. Or I'm just going to put 3 of those down. But next to those, I'm going to add the complex stringer cane. And when I do that, I do slightly kind of twist the cane a little bit, but I try my best to maintain a straight line. The only reason why I'm giving it a little tiny twist is so it's easier to heat. Anyway, so a little bit got on the mandrel, so I want to pull that off so it doesn't affect anything. And then I decided on the other side of those, I would add another bit of just the stringer. And then I would have some of the background showing in between. And, these patterns that you can come up with really are endless if you think about it. The idea is very simple. It's crosswise and lengthwise, and then crosswise and lengthwise. So as long as you got that, that's your basis for a great plaid pattern. And what I just did was used my my little marvering pad there to first pull in the edges of the bead where the stringer is, to kind of pull those into the edge, and then just roll it out. Okay, now I'm going lengthwise again with my stringer, and I'm going to add, 3 of these stringers on the top. And then I will go ahead and go in with the complex cane again and add it right next to the stringer, giving plenty of room next to it to see the pattern underneath. It's important that you leave that little bit of extra room, or the stringer or cane that you're using can widen to the point where you don't see it anymore. So just keep that in mind when you're adding your lines. Okay, I'm just going to warm everything up and start to melt it in nice and evenly. This does take quite a bit of time. But like Patrick always says, quality takes time. So I'm just heating this up, and then I'm going to roll it out again. Get a really nice shape happening here. I do work my edges quite a bit before I move on to the next step. Okay, now we are ready to coat it, and you already see the plaid showing there. But when you add the clear, that's when everything just kind of comes forward and becomes magnified a little bit by the clear. And I'm only going to, I think I just add 1 round of clear here. We'll see. So I'm just going to add my clear from the top all the way to the bottom, making sure that any open areas are completely coated when I'm done. And then I'll add a wrap to both the top half of the bead and the bottom, just to make sure I have enough clear to coat the edges. And then I'll start to heat everything up and gently pull the edges in first. That's usually the first thing I do in a situation like this. Make sure my edges are nice and smooth and go down into that mandrel. You can definitely do another layer of clear if you would like. It can only enhance the pattern more. All right, you guys, I'm just going to finish this up, and I hope you enjoyed this and made it all the way to the end. And I hope you get some good info off of this demo. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.